there, I'm Melanie DeSalvo, founder of Virtue and Vice. If you don't know me, I am obsessed with teaching people about how things are made. Today, I'm in the Marche region of Italy. You can see it right behind me here, and I am learning how shoes are made. Now, in this region, there are three main areas. The first is Montegranaro, where I am, and we're going to be making men's shoes. The second is Porto Sant'Elpidio. I might be butchering these names, I'm sorry if I am. And that is where women's shoes are made. And the third region is Montegranaro, where children's shoes are made. Now you might be wondering, why is everyone making shoes here? And there's a really interesting story behind that. So a long time ago, the story goes, is that there was a priest who came through the town, and the town didn't have a church. And in exchange for him investing money and building the church, he said, every time I come here, I need you to make me a pair of shoes. So everyone started specializing in shoemaking, and that is why to this day, shoes are still made in the area.
Welcome to our family factory, and let us show how we make our shoes.
The first step in making a pair of shoes is cutting the leather. Here at Italian Artisans, they use leather from both Italy and France. France tends to have a little bit of a better quality leather, but Italy is a very close second. Italian Artisans also uses vegetable-based dyes, which are a lot better for the environment than more traditional chemical dyes. After the leather patterns are cut, the edges are carved out. This is done to make the leather thinner so it's easier to pass through the sewing machine. Before all the pieces move on to sewing, designs are added to the leather. Next up is sewing all of the pieces together. Once the sewing is done, the shoes look like this. You can see they're starting to take shape. Okay, they're actually letting me get to try this part. So this here is a panel of glue, and we're going to use it to glue the two layers together. Can you come close? I can officially add shoemaking to my resume now. Now we wait a little bit for it to heat up. First step is complete. We're adding the reinforcement to the heel now.
This machine is used to mold and shape the heel and toe of the shoe.
All right, it's starting to look more like a shoe.
Glue is sprayed and the two layers of the shoe are pressed together with the reinforcement at the toe and heel in between. These are faux laces to protect the holes.
Again, they're carving the edges to make the process easier. Next, the leather gets a quick spray, which is going to soften it and make it a lot easier for the lasting process. A mold is attached to give the shoe form and shape during lasting. And finally, we have the lasting. This is actually one of the most important parts of the shoemaking process. If it's even off the slightest bit, the shoes won't be of good quality. Here we can really see where the artisan technique comes into play. This machine is used to apply glue to the edges of the shoe, and then the heel is closed. Few little touch-ups, and we're good to go. Before we can leave the lasting workshop, we need to clean everything up a bit so it's not so bulky and gluey. It is definitely starting to look a lot more like a shoe, but we're not done yet. We still need to add the sole. The shoes are then put through an oven to warm up the leather and make them easier to mold. And now the final parts of leather are removed from the bottom to create a nice smooth surface so we can add the sole. Glue is applied so the soles can be attached.
This machine will press the sole onto the shoe.
It has a leash. It's running away? Yeah? That's why they put the leash.
We just took a 5-minute car ride to another workshop nearby, and we're doing something called the Blake's fishing. You can hear in the background our friend Arnold, who wants some attention. So now on the insole, we're adding more glue, and then we're going to put the sole of the shoe on. After waiting about 5 minutes for the insole and sole glues to set, the shoe is then pressed one last time. All right, we are back in the second workshop to finish up the sole of the shoe. We weren't able to finish everything on Friday, but that's okay. We had a super relaxing and fun weekend, and now we're going to finish the shoe. We are now at a third workshop where we're going to finish the sole of the shoe. If you're wondering why we've had so many location changes, it's because each part of the shoe is very specialized, and the machines that are used are very expensive. This is also common in clothing production, where a lot of times factories will actually outsource where buttonholes are made or the pockets in pants are made. Now what we're doing is stitching together the sole and insole. This machine is used to close up the stitching and give it a little bit more of a polished look. All right, the shoe is looking pretty good, but the edges of the sole and insole are a little uneven. The next machine we use are going to clean all of that up and make it nice and smooth. A second machine is used to smooth out the sole and the insole around the toe. This is done because the thickness is much thinner than where the heel was, so a special piece needs to be used. And for the final step at this workshop, the shoe is brushed with water to help soften the leather and take away any granules from the shaving process. So right now the edge is pretty rough from the last process, and if you look closely you can see this machine is going to use sandpaper and it's going to make it nice and smooth. Check out that before and after. The artisans in this workshop actually started learning their crafts when they were only 9 years old. In the morning they would go to school, and in the afternoon they would come and they would learn. That's how they've developed such a high level of skill. Today in the villages, it's very hard to find young people that are interested in this type of work and training them. Adding some wax. and then shining the soles of the shoe. We're almost done. Next up is working on the bottom of the shoe. What he's doing now is buffing the bottom so it's clean and ready for color. All the little details matter. Even though most people aren't looking at the bottom of the sole of their shoe, finishing this properly is still important. This next set of machines adds some designs to the shoe. So these machines just added all these little details to the shoe. Here, and here, and back here on the edge, and here on the edge. All right, one final cleanup. A little bit of glue, and then we're going to add in the insole. The shoe is moved around a lot, so before we can finish it, it gets a quick cleaning. Now, if you look really closely, you might notice that the scallop cuts that we cut at the very beginning are a little white towards the edges. This polish is going to create a uniform color throughout the entire shoe. The final step is lacing the shoes and quality control. And this is our completed shoe. I am really blown away by how many steps go into making a pair of shoes. I had no idea. Every time in this process that I thought that we were done, there were like 4 more steps and another location. So the next time you're considering if it's worth it to buy a pair of shoes that are $200 or $300 and were made by artisans, I think they definitely are.
Bye.
Ciao.